inaugural Djibouti Forum brought together over 400 delegates to explore the unique offerings of this strategic nation, situated at the Horn of Africa. In this episode, we bring you insights from industry experts, government leaders, and the private sector, shedding light on Djibouti's stable economic climate and its pivotal role in fostering regional development and global connectivity.
Djibouti has been a success story in many ways. It is not too different from other relatively small African countries that have positioned themselves as gateways, as entrepots. So Mauritius is another case. And you have a few other countries that are aspiring to be centers and gateways for the rest of the region. And so Djibouti has been very vibrantly positioned as a gateway in the Horn of Africa. They are probably the only jurisdiction in this part of East Africa that has taken advantage of their position as being next to a number of landlocked countries, the big obvious one being Ethiopia, but also looking beyond Ethiopia to South Sudan and to the other landlocked countries. And so they've been a first mover in that sense, and they have captured a lot of the opportunity. But of course, with success sometimes comes competition, right? So you have emulators. So Kenya is now very quickly emulating. You have the Lamu port that is very quickly positioning itself similar to Djibouti. And you also have other jurisdictions in the Somalia space as well that are also looking to do the same. And then you had, prior to the conflict in Sudan, you had Port Sudan trying to do the same thing. But even beyond that, if you think of jurisdictions such as Hong Kong, who've been very successful, or Taiwan, proximity is relative. Dubai is only a 3-hour flight away, right? So Dubai, in many ways, has also become a gateway to the continent for various reasons. And so, Djibouti has been very successful, but success has to be sustained. And you have to do that in a competitive context, in a competitive landscape. And there are lessons, of course, there for countries like Djibouti, because it's not the only country that has that strategy. There's other countries in the rest of the region that are positioning similarly. You have Rwanda as a similar center. Of course, they're landlocked, but they have a financial center, they have free zones, and they have some very large neighbors as well. They're positioning themselves. Botswana, further south, is also doing the same thing. So, there are lessons to be learned. And they're both positive and negative lessons. And so I think Djibouti has had some success, but in everything in life, success has to be
sustainable.
And
on
it's
that,
not a given. It's not a given that it will continue exactly
well,
the same.
Examples of just this nation in the past, it is not a given. Exogenous factors can often derail the success or erode it, progress that you've made. And in that context, there's a lot of codependency between their neighbor Ethiopia, which primarily drives trade for Djibouti. What are some challenges you foresee? There are so many potential investors currently here at the forum. What are some potential challenges that you see that Djibouti would need to keep in mind, and ways to navigate them?
Well, in the final analysis, as was mentioned in the forum this morning, it's always a question of value proposition and competing successfully for a particular business. And so, Djibouti has positioned itself very well over the years. There's a railway link, which makes Djibouti kind of locked in some ways. But again, it's a very large market right next door. So there's a lot of business now, and even more so in the future. And it's all about capturing market share, and how can you stay ahead of the curve and make sure that you've got your lion's share, right? And that requires a bit of careful consideration, because competitive dynamics involve several factors. If you look at how some of these other countries that I mentioned have positioned themselves, whether you're a Mauritius or a Rwanda, they have positioned themselves in a very particular way, and they have really captured the attention of the continent. to make it very easy for people to come and do business and to co-locate in their jurisdictions and to give all of those facilitations that you would get in a place like Dubai or Mauritius and so on. So I think the danger that one has to manage is the perception that you have a captive market. I think that is something that has to be managed because it's not exactly captive because there's always competition and you have to be smart about it, right? So I think Djibouti is in a very strong position to continue to do very well. But like all things, like all businesses, you have to manage it carefully to make sure you remain more relevant than other value propositions.
In order to maintain a competitive edge, Djibouti has formulated a strategy aimed at fostering investor confidence to attract FDIs, as highlighted by the CEO of Djibouti Sovereign Wealth Fund, Slim Feriani.
We need FDI. FDI is crucial, it's vital. There's no choice to optimize the potential of the economy without it. Now, to attract that, you need to attract international investors. Well, it starts with trust and confidence, investor confidence. So that's the biggest challenge initially is to Djibouti, come, sue for yourself. And this is why this forum is amazing. You come and kick the tires and see the reality for yourself and close that gap. Investment is about risk-taking. Yes, there are issues everywhere. You know, unfortunately, in Europe, you see the war between Ukraine and Russia. Yes, so it's happening. And unfortunately, you have Palestine and Israel. So things happen in this region. Thank God there isn't such a thing like that. It's impacting. But we live in a world where everything is connected. However, going back to that point about Djibouti is only about 1 million people, but it's 23,000 square kilometers, about the size of Rwanda. It's 53 times the size of Singapore. There's lots to do. But that 1 million people is the tip of the iceberg. It's 400 million people around it. It's 130 million people next door in Ethiopia, Ethiopia. So again, that's a great market right there. The Comesa market. We are in all the kind of regional trade agreements. So Djibouti offers that hub just like others have done it. And the infrastructure is there. We have the road infrastructure. Well, first of all, we have the ship, sea infrastructure coming. So the sea to road, sea to railway, sea to air. Everything is in there. But once again, I think we need to tell the world more about it to come in here. And we have now an unprecedented flow of potential investors. I say potential because yes, we need to. But I see the next 2-3 years really as amazing years. We are back on track to about 6.5% growth this year. That puts us in the top 20 fastest growing economies. 7% we used to do that prior to COVID. But we can do more with investment. Once the investment engine really is firing at full steam.
And the prospects of taking it full steam already look promising, as confirmed by private investors at the forum. Give me a little bit insight as a private investor. Where do you want to put your money as far as Djibouti is concerned?
In the free zone.
In the free zone. Explain why.
Well, we see an opportunity there to develop a modern warehousing complex that can serve both the Djibouti markets, can serve the hinterland markets as we unlock the landlocked countries, and also facilitate exports out of Djibouti and from the hinterland as well. So it would be a multi-purpose free zone activity, built, developed, an investment in Djibouti to I would say, for our long-term future. Excellent, and I suppose that would get a lot of traction considering Ethiopia's never falling demand and beyond. Exactly. Yeah, and that's the market we're trying to tap into, is to have a stronger footprint in Djibouti. But as we spoke about before, I mean, the countries that have ports as a gateway, they have to also consider the unlocking the potential of the hinterland and those landlocked countries as well, because they rely on those for trade. Sure, and such a massive opportunity for countries like Djibouti. Huge opportunity. Yes. How do you feel about the support system here by the government? And in general, the business environment, how supportive, how conducive is it for putting in that kind of money into the free economic zones? Well, there's a huge development in ports and the surrounding industry in Djibouti over the last 10 years. Also in the railways and the road network. It's to utilize those ports and the rail network, and to look beyond the exit to the port, and how that road and rail infrastructure can be used to unlock the potential of the landlocked countries and really get the best out of the utilization of the ports. And to have that in a kind of collaborative process as well. So in order to do that, you need the right governance, you need the right custom structure, you need the right infrastructure, you need the right technology, you need the right people. So a strong, empowered, intelligent workforce, which is what we find, good infrastructure, good network connectivity, good IT services. You put the whole thing together, and then you've got this sort of optimal environment for good quality, low-cost logistics.
Djibouti is a very interesting country with quite a bit political stability, and location is very interesting. And we were invited to come and look investment opportunities by the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Djibouti. And it is already a good comfort to come with the Sovereign Wealth Fund and then have the local partner who's basically holding your hand and walking you through the system. So we looked at number of projects in the country, because our background is not only renewable energy but generic infrastructure. But in the meantime, we noted that they have invested quite a bit for the infrastructure of the free zone at the port, and they are basically trying to promote this free zone more and more. But people, they are coming to this free zone, what they look at is actually they look for reliable and affordable energy, power, and most important, reliable power. They don't want to basically wait for the grid to basically, deliver the power at their door at the cost. So this is why actually when this project was introduced to us, it was very interesting. We decided to basically start with it. Our target is 15 megawatt, but we will be doing this 15 megawatt in installments, because we are also aware that, once we put the first phase, then there will be more people coming, and we have to put the second phase. So we will grow with the free zone. So which means that we invest, free zone grows, and then we grow with them when we invest more. So that's the modality.
Growing
here.
with appetite.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent.
This appetite is not limited to investors, but also Djibouti's own vision for its future in economic diversification.
In our strategical shift, the future will be much more diversified economy. And there is no other point than moving into other diversified economy. And as our development model as of today came to its own, not end, but it came to its limit.
Sure.
And our economy was mainly driven by logistics and trade.
Yes.
It's now time to look at from port activities, as I was explaining this morning, and from being a regional hub in terms of port and logistics to maritime hub. So looking for much more in blue economy.
Right.
In shipyard and ship repairs and hub in the whole region, and the whole, especially in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden.
Yeah.
Moving from telecommunication hub to digital hub, because you may know about the characteristic of Djibouti.
Pardon me?
Is the largest in fiber optic cables infrastructure in Africa, the largest by far. So how can we make use of those capacity? And we are serving the whole region actually in terms of in terms of data availability and in terms of capacity.
Yes.
Down to Kenya, Mozambique, and beyond. So for us, it's how can we build a digital economy in Djibouti, having that comparative advantage in Djibouti. But moreover, also we are looking into numbers of transition and to make sure that we are really taking advantage of the location of Djibouti in terms of economy, including